Hello and welcome. I'm delighted you're here. For our newcomers, becoming a subscriber and sharing this video is the best way to support the channel. I'm always excited to see where you're all from, so drop your location in the comments. Okay, time to dive in. Our 10th anniversary was supposed to be a celebration. Instead, it became the night Stephanie told me she'd be leaving early, because she planned to spend the night with another man. We were sitting at the top of the Hartwell Hotel, a rooftop restaurant I'd reserved well in advance, hoping to make the evening special. The waiter had just finished pouring our wine when I noticed something was off. Stephanie barely touched her food, sipped her drink too fast, and kept glancing at her phone whenever it lit up. "Something on your mind?" I asked, keeping my tone calm. She set her glass down and began tracing its rim with one finger, eyes unfocused. Then she offered me a tight, forced smile. "I need you to stay calm about what I'm going to say." That sentence told me everything I needed to know. This wasn't going to be minor. I didn't say a word, just leaned back and waited. "I've been meaning to tell you this," she said, carefully folding her napkin like it was the only thing keeping her hands steady. "And it wouldn't be right to just leave without being honest." Her voice was controlled, too controlled, like something she'd rehearsed more than once. "William," she said, cool and deliberate, "I don't want this to blindside you. I'm going to see Tyler tonight." It landed like ice in my chest. Tyler Grant, practically a celebrity, the man behind the most powerful streaming platform in the world. He happened to be in town that week, speaking at the Tech Forum. Stephanie had admired him since her college days. I always thought it was admiration from afar, the kind you post about, not pursue. "Say that again," I said. "It's just one night," she replied. "A night I've imagined since I was 20. He invited me after his keynote. This is probably my only chance, and I'm going to take it." I looked at her, my expression still, but sharp. "You waited until our anniversary dinner to drop this?" "We're still good," she said quickly. "Nothing changes between us. I just need to do this. Please don't turn this into a fight." Then she stood, leaned in, and kissed my cheek like I was a child being sent off to school. "Don't wait up," she added. And with that, she vanished into the glow of the skyline. I didn't chase her. I already knew exactly what needed to happen. After settling the bill and leaving a tip, I walked directly to the parking garage. Stephanie probably thought she'd detonated some emotional bomb, that I'd shout, plead, maybe break down. But I wasn't furious. What I felt was far heavier than rage, clarity. A chapter had ended. No sense standing in the doorway. Back at our condo, I moved with purpose. I grabbed a suitcase and packed only what mattered: clothes, my laptop, essential documents, and my passport. I logged into our joint accounts and transferred half into my personal one. No tricks, no theatrics, just a clean, legal break. She could keep the rest. Then I began detaching, canceled every shared service, from streaming platforms to bill accounts. I logged out of everything that connected us, left my key on the kitchen counter beside a stack of unopened mail. Only one thing remained: Nadia, CEO of Palisades Secure in Austin. She'd offered me a role a year ago. I'd turned it down after Stephanie insisted we needed to put down roots in Chicago. I found Nadia's number in my contacts, hovered over it for a second, then tapped before hesitation could stop me. She picked up after 2 rings. "William, it's late. You once said the position was still open. Is that true?" There was a pause, then a shift in her voice. "You're serious?" "I am." 10 minutes later, I had the job, a place to stay, and a one-way flight booked for the morning. I packed a framed photo of my father, the only thing from my desk that mattered. Then I sent Stephanie a single message before turning off my phone. "Don't wait up." At 4 a.m., I closed the door behind me. No note, no explanations. Just silence. Stephanie returned home shortly after 10 that morning, Saturday. I wasn't there to see it, but I can picture it vividly. She probably expected me sulking on the couch, ready to explode. Instead, she walked into stillness. Her heels would have echoed on the hardwood as she dropped her purse on the counter. Maybe she called my name, once, twice, softly, thinking I was upstairs, waiting. But my side of the closet was empty. The drawers were bare, the bathroom counter cleared. Everything I cared about was gone. She must have realized it then. I hadn't waited around. Her first call came at 10:30 in the morning, straight to voicemail. Then another, and another. By noon, she'd called 10 times. By late afternoon, the panic was unmistakable. She drove downtown, hoping to catch me at work, only to find out I'd called in sick. When she asked around, someone offhandedly mentioned I'd been talking about updating my portfolio. That only added to her confusion. On Saturday evening, she heard from the bank. "Mrs. Foster, we're contacting you to confirm a $35,000 withdrawal from your joint account this morning." She nearly dropped the phone. That night, Stephanie began sending the first of many desperate messages. "We need to talk. Don't do anything rash. Call me." By Sunday, it fully sank in. She hadn't just lost her husband, she'd lost the other man too, and she had no idea where I'd gone. I landed in Austin at 9:10 a.m. that same Saturday, picked up a rental car, and drove straight to the modest, furnished apartment Nadia had arranged. It was quiet, stripped down, and perfect. A blank slate, a clean beginning. That afternoon, Nadia met me at the offices of Palisade Secure. She didn't ask for explanations, and I didn't give any. "I'm glad you made it," she said, shaking my hand firmly. "We've got a product launch in 3 weeks. It's behind. Can you take over?" "If I couldn't handle it, I wouldn't be here," I told her. From that moment on, everything revolved around work, structure, and starting fresh. I built a rigid daily routine. Every morning began with training sessions led by Luis Ortega, a former track coach who ran a runners group near Lady Bird Lake. He pushed harder than I anticipated, but I didn't resist it. I welcomed it. At work, I kept long hours. I tore up the existing rollout plan and rebuilt it from scratch, driving the engineering team harder than they were used to. Not everyone handled it well. One person did. Ria Raman, our lead data scientist. Brilliant and unflinching, she never hesitated to challenge me in meetings. When I messed up, she said so plainly, "No sugarcoating." One night, after another marathon session, I asked why she was always so direct. She closed her laptop. "Because if you're serious about change, you don't need comfort. You need the truth." I respected that. More than that, I relied on it. Outside the office, I kept my distance from everything else. The past stayed locked away. This was a new life, and I wouldn't let any part of the old one contaminate it. Stephanie had chosen her path. I had chosen mine. For the first time in years, I was building something entirely my own. 6 months in, that new life was tested for real. A mid-tier hotel chain got hit. Data breach, systems compromised, customer info leaked. Headlines went wild. Nadia called me early Sunday morning. "This is our moment," she said. "If we nail this, we take the lead. If we screw it up, we're finished." I didn't hesitate. For the next 72 hours, I lived inside that crisis. I coordinated engineers, gave updates to execs, and worked side by side with Ria to rebuild the hotel's cybersecurity infrastructure. She stayed with me through every all-nighter, calling me out when I pushed too far, backing me when I was right. By Thursday morning, the systems were up again, stronger, tighter than before. At the press conference, the hotel's CEO shook my hand. "This man saved our company." The quote made headlines. Trade publications called it a turning point for the hotel and a breakout for Palisade Secure. But for me, it meant something far more personal. I wasn't just holding on anymore. I was rising. Exactly a year to the day after Stephanie's confession at Hartwell, I sent her a FedEx envelope. Inside were the signed divorce papers. No note, no message, just my name on the line. The phone started ringing that same afternoon. I ignored every call. Eventually, a voicemail came through. "William, we need to talk, please. This can't be how it ends. I made a mistake, I see that now. We can fix it." I played it once, then deleted it. There was nothing left to fix. Her decision had been made in one night. Mine had been made over months. A week later, her attorney reached out to begin the process. I told mine to keep it clean, strictly professional. No direct communication, no unnecessary drama. When the finalized documents came in months later, I didn't feel triumph. I didn't feel regret. I just felt done. Stephanie was part of a chapter I had long since finished reading. My focus had shifted entirely to what lay ahead, with no energy left for the past. 2 years had passed since I left, and in that time, everything had evolved. Palisade Secure was growing at a rapid pace, but I was searching for something that felt like it truly belonged to me. Nadia shared that vision. Along with her and Ria, we launched Northline Risk, a company built on the belief that security should be anticipatory, not reactive. Those early months were relentless. We pushed ourselves to the brink, fueled by coffee and determination, pitching to anyone who would listen. Rejections came often, wins were scarce, but little by little, momentum began to shift. Our initial contracts were small, barely worth noting, but they cracked the door open. And with each client, our reputation began to solidify. While our professional lives demanded everything, something unexpected unfolded on a more personal front. Ria and I had spent countless hours side by side, grinding through late nights and early mornings. Over time, the lines between colleague and something more began to blur. She wasn't just the one challenging me during strategy sessions anymore. She started running with me at dawn, joining for quiet dinners that lingered late, and spending weekends doing nothing that involved work. One night, after landing the biggest client we'd ever pitched, we found ourselves on a hidden patio in Austin, strung with dim lights. She raised her glass, giving me a small, knowing smile. "Here's to starting over," she said. I tapped her glass and met her eyes. By then, I had moved out of my temporary place and into a peaceful home outside the city. I spent weekends racing trails through the hill country, gave talks at local cybersecurity events, and mentored a few young professionals just finding their footing. Through all of it, I followed one rule: never look over my shoulder. Stephanie had faded into old files and forgotten phone calls. She wasn't spoken of. She wasn't mourned. She simply wasn't present. By the third year, Northline had a presence in 2 major cities and more business than we could immediately take on. My schedule was overflowing: keynotes, leadership panels, planning meetings. The man who once sat silent and broken across from a partner confessing betrayal no longer existed. In his place stood someone refined by fire, stronger, clearer, and entirely remade. Exactly 3 years after that rooftop dinner, I came back to the city. Not as a man licking old wounds, but as the keynote speaker for the region's largest cybersecurity summit. Northline had grown into a recognized brand nationwide. I had been invited to open the event with a talk titled "Fail Safe Lives." As I stepped under the stage lights, their glare briefly obscured the crowd. When my eyes adjusted, I saw her. Stephanie sitting near the center aisle, wearing a badge that marked her as part of a vendor company. Her hair was cut shorter now, her expression tense, but her face gave her away. She looked stunned. I didn't pause. The past no longer had any hold over me. 3 years ago, I began, my voice steady and echoing through the auditorium, I learned that not all failures are technical. Sometimes what collapses is trust. And when that happens, we're faced with a decision: rebuild what's broken or start clean. Behind me, slides rolled, charts, research, methodologies. I didn't speak of myself, but the symbolism wasn't lost. Stephanie would read between the lines. "Betrayal can either wreck everything," I said, "or become the groundwork for something far more resilient." The audience held still for a heartbeat, then broke into applause. For 40 minutes, I spoke of adaptation, foresight, and ownership. When I finished, the standing ovation was loud and sustained. I glanced back toward her. Stephanie hadn't budged. She wasn't clapping. She just stared, pale, unmoving. I exited the stage with colleagues heading for the media lounge. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught her weaving through the crowd, trying to reach me. I slowed my steps near the glass doors of the lobby. I had expected this. I knew she'd want to say something, but for the first time in years I wasn't anxious about it. She no longer held the power to shift anything in my life. I waited near the valet stand. A moment later she appeared, breathless, gripping her bag strap like it was anchoring her. "William," she said, her voice trembling, "please, let me explain." I turned toward her, calm. "Explain what?" "You said everything the night you walked away from that table." Tears welled in her eyes, but she pressed forward anyway. "I made a terrible mistake. The worst one of my life. I thought it would just be one night. I thought I could fix things, that you'd still be there when I came back. I didn't believe you'd actually leave." I studied her expression like a technician reviewing a corrupted schematic, detached, methodical, without emotion. "You were right about one thing," I said flatly. "It only took one night." That night ended everything. Her hand reached out, uncertain and shaking, the weight of regret written in the gesture. "William, I made a terrible mistake," she whispered. "I ruined what we had. But it was real, wasn't it? We had years. Doesn't that mean anything now?" Before I could answer, a quiet hum announced the arrival of a polished black car. It eased to a stop beside us, and the passenger door opened with deliberate grace. Ria stepped out, composed, elegant, self-assured. She walked over, laced her fingers through mine with effortless certainty, and stood beside me, eyes locked on Stephanie, completely unshaken. "This is Ria Rahman," I said evenly. "She's my partner in business." I paused. "And my fiancée." Stephanie's mouth parted slightly, as if to form words, but none emerged. That one word, fiancé, hit with more finality than any accusation ever could. "I let go of the anger a long time ago," I told her. "But the version of me that waited for your apology? He's gone. He vanished the night you chose Tyler and walked away instead of fighting for what we had." Her gaze darted between the two of us, looking for a crack, a moment of doubt. She found none. I turned. As I stepped toward the car, I gave her the last words she would ever hear from me. Not a farewell, something far heavier. Some choices don't come with second chances. The door shut. The engine came alive. In the rearview mirror I saw her, still standing there alone, watching the life she abandoned drive away, gone forever.